Hello, welcome to the regular city council meeting Tuesday, January 14th. We'd like to call this meeting to order and start with a moment of silence and pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Middlecombe?
Here.
Martino?
Here.
Claus?
Here.
Tapp? Dyke?
Here.
Greaves?
Here.
Hagee?
Here. Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Dyke.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve Mayor Tapp being tardy.
Any questions on the motion?
That would have to be absent.
Absent. Any question on the motion? Roll call, please.
Dyke?
Yes.
Greaves?
Yes.
Hagee?
Yes.
Middlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes. Okay, moving on to approval of minutes. We have several minutes here, and I'm looking for a motion for approval.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I would
Yes.
like to make a motion to approve, do we have to do them one by one?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of October 22nd, 2024 for the regular meeting of the council, as written.
Any comments? Questions? Roll call, please.
Dyke?
Yes.
Greaves?
Yes.
Hagee?
Yes.
Middlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of November 12th, 2024, regular meeting of council, as written.
Questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Dyke?
Yes.
Greaves?
Yes.
Hagee?
Yes.
Middlecombe?
Excuse me,
Yes.
abstain. I'm sorry.
Middlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Abstain.
Claus?
Yes.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Mr. Dyke?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of November 18th, 2024, special meeting of council. As written.
Any questions? Roll call?
Dyke?
Yes.
Greaves?
Yes.
Hagee?
Yes.
Middlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Abstain.
Claus?
Yes.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Mr. Dyke?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of November 26th, 2024, regular meeting of council, as written.
Any questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Dyke?
Yes.
Greaves?
Yes.
Hagee?
Yes.
Middlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Mr. Dyke?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of December 10th, 2024, regular meeting of council, as written.
Questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Dyke?
Yes.
Greaves?
Yes.
Hagee?
Abstain.
Middlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Abstain.
Claus?
Yes. Okay, that finishes up with minutes. Next section is audience comments. Citizens may address their concerns to city council. Please state your name and address for the recorded journal. And we have a 3-minute time limit. I don't see too many guests unless Mr. Steinward has something he wants to say. No? Okay, moving on to old business.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Mr. Greaves.
I make a motion placing ordinance number 2024-56 on its second reading.
Thank you. This is a second reading for ordinance number 2024-56. Mr. Lasco. Excuse me? I'm sorry, Mr. Schrader.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is ordinance number 2024-56. An ordinance amending chapter 1131 landscape requirements of the codified ordinances of Huron, Ohio to establish a new section 1131.11 outdoor lighting regulations.
Mr. Lasco.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. As I did,
Wait.
We didn't vote on.
We didn't vote on,
the first
Second
reading.
yeah.
Second
Or the
reading.
second reading. Can we do a vote on that first?
Please.
Yes, roll call on second reading, please.
Graves?
Yes.
Hagee?
Yes.
Middlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
I'm Mr. Lasco.
You may proceed.
Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Sorry. I'm a rookie here, so.
As I did last meeting, I'm going to defer to Attorney Waters to walk council and the public through this legislation.
Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, we're on second reading of this proposed new section, 1131-11. This relates to outdoor lighting fixtures. The purpose of this section is to regulate the selection, installation, configuration, and placement of outdoor lighting fixtures. It's not meant to be a proactive regulation, but it's supposed to respond to any complaints from the public. Essentially, the terms of the proposed statute read that no one should unreasonably shine, glare, reflect, or project light onto the property of another. That's the general terms. There's some specific terms that apply to new and existing lighting fixtures. For new lighting fixtures, they all have to be fully shielded, which means all light from the fixture has to project downward from a horizontal, nothing going up. They're all, and for all lighting fixtures, whether they be new or existing, it shall not be directed at the property of another. It shall, if it's not fully shielded, so existing lighting features, it should be turned off after 9 p.m. The use of flashing, rotating, or moving outdoor lighting fixtures is prohibited, and light trespass shall be reduced. There are some exceptions, most notably those that apply to holiday lighting fixtures, like the Christmas lights, those with lower lumen values. So other than that, I would open up to any questions.
Any questions? Oh. Where are we hitting it?
Keep on turning Netflix on.
There's another one up there, so.
Oh, it's right here. Any other questions? I'm sorry. From the council? Okay, that was the second reading, so we're moving on. In the new business, I make a motion to acknowledge compliance of section 7 of ordinance number 2022-50. Do we have, that's not a reading by Todd, right? So, Mr. Glasgow?
Yeah, just as a reminder for everyone, this was a code we amended back in 2022 as it relates to certain city manager responsibilities and authorities, specifically as it relates, as a way to be more customer friendly and to be more efficient. This allows the city manager to administratively approve things like signs in the right of way temporarily for whether it's a plant sale or a 5K race. This also allows the city manager to approve things like a license agreement. If someone needed to store materials on city property for a limited amount of time where there's no monetary exchange. Again, just a way to be more customer friendly and efficient. When we approved the original ordinance, we stated that we would bring this to council annually to see if they would like to continue that. And it would just be for a 1-year continuance.
Mr. Heggie?
So there's no changes to the one we passed prior?
No
I didn't
proposed
see the red
changes.
line or anything.
Correct,
No
no.
proposed changes.
It's just that the ordinance had required an annual approval, so if we felt that the city manager was taking advantage, we could pull back on that.
And then if I, what I would just note, if everyone remembers, I did add a section based on this ordinance to my manager's report. If there is anything that I approve administratively, temporary signs, access agreements, I do put those in my manager's report. And then 2, we still use our best judgment. If we think it's something of public interest, we will still bring that to council for consideration. But again, it would just be through December 31st of this year.
Any more questions?
So, do we have to take any action on a motion?
Vote.
Yeah.
We're voting to continue it for another year.
Or are we voting to acknowledge compliance over the past year?
Section 7 requires an annual acknowledgement that it's to be continued for the 12-month period. And so we will do this again next year at this time, first meeting.
Any more questions? Roll call, please.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Heggie?
Yes.
Middlecom?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Okay, next item, ordinance number 2025-1.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Martino?
I move to waive the three reading rule and place ordinance number 2025-1 on its first reading.
Thank you. Any questions on the waive? No, roll call, please.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke? Reeves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Middlecom?
No, oh, yes. Just thinking
Mr.
about-
Schrader?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is ordinance number 2025-1. An ordinance ratifying approval of the Turtle Bay Planned Residential Development Plan Amendment pursuant to council motion dated April 26, 2004, ratifying the recordation of the plat of the Turtle Bay subdivision recorded with the Erie County Recorder on October 15, 2004, under document number RN 2004-14675 in Plat Book 45, page 11 of Erie County, Ohio records, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Ardino?
I move to place ordinance number 2025-1 as an emergency measure.
Any questions on the emergency measure? Roll call, please.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Middlecom?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lasko?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'm actually going to defer to Mr. Schrader, who brought this to our attention.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lasko. So we had other business before the city for Turtle Bay. There was a request to move a setback line that's established in the plat. And it was noted at the time that the plat that was recorded was never formally approved by the city, by way of oversight. The plat was signed, the then existing council clerk signed it, but there's no legislation to ratify it. And by law, the plat should be approved by council, but we cannot seem to locate any legislation and highly doubt that it was done. So I think to conform with the law, to make sure we have something on the books, the request is being made that we pass legislation ratifying the recordation of the plat that should have been done when the plat was first recorded.
Any questions? I think even Mr. Artino wasn't on council then in 2004.
No.
I do think it was just oversight.
Yeah. Any further questions on this?
It would have been right if I was there.
Final adoption?
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Middlecom?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance number 2025-2. Mr. Hagee?
Excuse me.
At least that's what I have, if I got it right.
Mr. Mayor,
Did I, was it,
Sorry.
did I not have it right? Oh, go ahead.
It's in my packet as Mr. Hagee.
Okay, go ahead.
am I good?
You're good, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I move that the three reading rule is waived in ordinance number 2025-2 be placed on first reading.
Any questions on the three reading rule? Roll call?
Peggy?
Yes.
Middlecom?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Lasko, or Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is ordinance number 2025-2, an ordinance authorizing and prescribing the manner of sale of certain real property owned by the city of Huron, located on the former ConAgra property, Erie County Permanent Parcel Number 42-61270.001, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement for the sale of that property to Triban Investment LLC and declaring an emergency.
Mayor,
Mr. Hagee.
move that ordinance number 2025-2 be placed as an emergency.
Questions on the emergency? Roll call?
Peggy?
Yes.
Middlecom?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Lasko.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is to formalize the eventual sale of the former ConAgra property. I do want to note a lot of the elements of this purchase agreement were included in the letter of intent that council approved a meeting or two ago. This is just putting it in the more contractually obligated format of a purchase agreement with Tri-Band Investment. Just to highlight some of the important elements of this purchase agreement, again, very similar to the LOI. This would include selling the one parcel to Tri-Band Investment for $750,000. $250,000 would be immediately due upon sale of real estate. The remaining $500,000 would be due to the city, $10,000 at a time, with the sale of the first 50 units of the development. To protect the city's security interest, we would retain a mortgage on the property until the entire $500,000 were eventually paid to make the city full. Also, they will be due to the title agency a $25,000 refundable earnest money deposit. That is only refundable under certain conditions. If there are certain things that the developer finds through the due diligence process, or should they not make it through the design review or planning commission process for whatever reason, that $25,000 would be refundable to the developer, since that would be no fault of their own. Also, they will have up to 270 days to do their due diligence. We don't anticipate that it's going to take that long, but this would give them the opportunity to do updated geotechnical and soil studies, environmental phase 1, environmental phase 2, etc. For that site. Although not included in the purchase agreement, obviously this site is going to ensure that there is public access around the entirety of the property. Any roadways and utilities for this project would be constructed by the developer. And then the city, to ensure that public access around the perimeter, we would not own the real estate, but we would retain a perpetual easement. Those will be more formalized in a development agreement that would come to council prior to the transfer of the real estate. So we make sure that those roles and responsibilities are formalized prior to real estate transfer. But it's been a long time getting to this point, but I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Mr. Dyke?
So, as units are sold, then we recoup our funds. Is there a time date that we want to have all of our funds, or could this be drawn out for 10, 20 years?
Through Mr. Vice Mayor to Councilman Dyke. As currently written, there is no timeline for those funds to be returned to the city. Again, we would have a security interest in the property via a mortgage, but we were confident enough and felt comfortable with the success of that project to take our money $10,000 at a time with the sale of the first 50 units.
And there's going to be a total of how many units?
94, under the current plan, yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Hagee?
Just real quick, I just want to make sure, because we looked at several different designs. This is for the entire parcel of the Conever, right? Because I think a few of them had some carve outs, you keep this piece kind of stuff.
Through Mr. Vice Mayor to Councilman Hagee, under this current proposal that the council recommended, this does not have the city retaining ownership of any real estate. We would have, again, perpetual easement rights around the perimeter, but you're right, there was one proposal in which they only wanted about, 70% of the site. This would be for the entirety of the property.
Do they have a date when they're ready to go to the planning commission?
Through Mr. Vice Mayor to Councilman Dyke, I don't know that I would throw out a date. I would tell you they're as anxious as we are, to the point where they want to start due diligence immediately. In a perfect world, I'd love them to be in front of our planning commission late summer, fall, but I'm not going to go on record and guarantee that.
Anxious, like our website anxious? Sorry, I'm just kidding.
I forgot it. What the hell was I gonna ask?
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Artino?
Is there still an issue with swapping property with the railroad or something like that?
Through Mr. Vice Mayor, to Councilman Martino, I don't know if I'm thinking of what you're thinking. We did have to do a land swap, but that was with ODNR. That's completed, that's been recorded, and I've included it in my manager's report. I won't mention it tonight. There are some other things that are going on behind the scenes that will have to come in front of council. We do have to dedicate part of the ODNR property, the road, that looks like a road, that's actually state property. We need that to become publicly dedicated so that the property has ingress egress. And then there will also be an easement that is given back to ODNR. Well, it's a mutual easement, because obviously what ODNR doesn't want is to publicly dedicate a portion of the property that we then don't allow them access to. So I think they're all drafted. Those are in front of ODNR for final sign off. Once we have that, we'll bring those to council, hopefully in the next meeting or two. But long-winded way of saying the property swap, that is done and recorded.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions? Final adoption.
Peggy?
Yes.
Middlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Okay, moving on, resolution number 1-2025.
Mr. Mayor, or Vice Mayor,
Mr. Biddlecombe.
I make a motion to waive the 3 reading rule and place resolution number 1-2025 on its first reading.
Any questions on the 3 reading rule? Roll call?
Middlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is resolution number 1-2025. An annual resolution expressing council's intent to sell personal property deemed to be no longer needed for public use or found obsolete or unfit for the use for which it was acquired by internet auction utilizing GovDeals, Inc.
Mr. Lasko.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is just our annual renewal to utilize GovDeals, Inc. As the city's preferred internet auctioneer when and if we dispose of property or equipment that makes sense to auction on that site. We're not auctioning anything per this legislation. It's just, again, our annual renewal. There's no monetary cost up front for this service. We do just get charged a small service fee when and if anything sells via the auction.
Okay, thank you. Final adoption. Or any more questions? Final adoption?
Middlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Resolution number 2-2025.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Mr. Dyke.
I would like to make a motion waiving the 3 reading rule and approving resolution number 2-2025 on its first reading.
Questions on the 3 reading rule? Roll call?
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Middlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes. Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is resolution number 2-2025. A resolution of necessity recommending and approving inspection of property citywide in anticipation of enforcement of property-related ordinances, the International Property Maintenance Code, and the Ohio Building Code.
Thank you, Mr. Lasko.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is not related to any specific property. This is just our annual notice provision to property owners throughout the city, that throughout 2025, the city does intend to inspect properties for compliance with our codified ordinances, mainly the International Property Maintenance Code, Ohio Building Code, and anything locally. So again, this is mainly just as a notice provision, also something that the county auditor likes to see when and if the time comes to certify anything to be tax duplicate, if and when the city does have to come onto a property to mow grass, remove a vehicle, etc. So again, just a notice provision that we do every year.
Thank you. Any questions? Final adoption?
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Middlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes. Next up is resolution number 3-2025.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Mr. Martino.
I move to waive the 3 reading rule and place resolution number 3-2025 on first reading.
Questions on the 3 reading? Roll call?
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Middlecombe?
Yes.
Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is resolution number 3-2025. A resolution of necessity recommending and approving of inspections of property citywide in anticipation of enforcement of sidewalk-related ordinances and Ohio law relating to sidewalks.
Mr. Lasko.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'm actually going to defer to Mr. Hamilton, who I believe is taking the next 2, resolution 3 and 4.
Mr. Vice Mayor. If you don't mind, I'll cover a resolution number 325 and 425 at the same time. They're basically the same kind of thing. One
I guess that'd be okay.
refers to the sidewalk, one refers to the trees. This is our yearly resolution of necessity that allows us to go out, inspect sidewalks and trees, notify the residents of any issues we find, and then go through and enforce. Our first year we did this, we learned some lessons, especially some of the letters we sent out. So we kind of run through. January we'll legislate, February, March we'll go out and inspect. April, May we'll send out a courtesy letter this time, so people are not surprised, we're not threatening them, we're just saying, hey, we found this stuff, we kind of like you to take care of it, and if you don't, we'll come back and we'll send you a real notice next time. September, we'll go back out, we inspect for people who have actually acted on the courtesy notice. October, we'll actually send citations out, we'll bid it out over the winter to actually rectify the following year.
So it takes a whole year
Yep.
to, if there's non-compliance.
Yep. And just, sorry, one more thing, this will be District 4, which basically runs from by the shores through River Road.
The east, whole east side of the whole
East.
neighborhood.
Yep.
Mr. Artino,
So just so people understand, this is a new legislation.
No.
This is not new, I just want people to understand, it's not new legislation.
No,
It's
this
just
will be-
something we come back to every year.
Yeah, and through you, Mr. Vice Mayor, we broke the city up into 4 zones, and they'll be inspected once every 4 years, and we'll go through the same process once every 4 years. The first 4 times through are obviously going to be the heavier ones, because we've never done this before. We expect the next turnaround to be minimal, really just picking up on bits and pieces.
Okay.
Thank you. Any more questions for Mr. Hamilton on resolution 3 or 4? In terms of questions, anyway. No? And so we are going to final adoption for resolution number 3-2025.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes.
Moving on to resolution number 4-2025.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Mr. Artino.
I move to waive the 3 reading rule and place resolution number 4-2025 on its first reading.
Thank you. Any questions on the 3 reading? Roll call?
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is resolution number 4-2025, a resolution of necessity recommending and approving of inspections of properties citywide in anticipation of enforcement of tree-related ordinances and Ohio law relating to trees.
Thank you. I think Mr. Hamilton already covered this one. Is there any more questions? So final adoption for resolution number 4.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes.
Moving on to resolution number 5-2025.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Heggie.
I move that resolution 5-2025 be placed on its first reading and the 3 reading rules waived.
Any questions on the 3 reading? Roll call?
Peggy?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is resolution number 5-2025, a resolution certifying mowing charges to the Erie County Auditor for collection.
Thank you, Mr. Lesko.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is related to specific properties of which are listed in everyone's packet. We did do our initial certification in August or so of 2024 to get on the second half tax duplicate, or excuse me, to get on, to ensure inclusion on this first year's tax duplicate. There were a couple of properties that the city had to abate fourth quarter of 2024 for mowing or related expenses. So just to make sure they don't slip through the cracks while we wait for an entire 12 months, we wanted to make sure these 4 were certified to the tax duplicate. So we're sending notification to county auditor. Happy to answer
Oh, Mr. Biddlecombe.
On the table where it says case numbers, is that how many times we had to say mow last year, or is that years that they've had issues?
That is the amount of times we've had to be there.
Okay,
To
just
abate the
in the
property.
past year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Since August.
Yeah, even if it's the same property, we'll certify the same property every year.
Okay.
Yes.
Any more questions? Final adoption?
Peggy?
Yes.
Biddlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Moving on, resolution number 6-2025.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Mr. Dyke,
I would like to make a motion waiving the 3 reading rule and approve resolution number 6-2025 on its first reading.
any questions on 3 reading? Roll call?
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Biddlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes. Mr. Schrader,
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is resolution number 6-2025. A resolution authorizing the finance director and/or city manager to participate in various cooperative purchasing programs for the calendar year ending December 31, 2025.
Mr. Lasko.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This will become an annual piece of legislation we put in front of council moving forward. We actually did it the first time in '24, about halfway through the year. But this allows us, through the Ohio Department of Administrative Services, to participate in multiple collective purchasing. Basically, anytime we're competitively bidding equipment, vehicle purchases, et cetera, we can participate in collective purchasing programs. ODAS requires the city to pass a resolution stating that we're wanting to participate in the program. Obviously, as you can imagine, competitive bidding can be very costly and timely. So this is really a way for the state to source competitive pricing for us so that we can be a little bit more quick and efficient. Again, this is something we did for the first time in the summer and something that we'll look to do, or at least have the ability to participate in annually.
Questions, Mr. Reagan?
Do they do base cost stuff like healthcare?
I wish.
No? Insurance, healthcare, no?
Yeah,
Great question.
good idea.
Only buying hammers and
Yeah.
Air packs.
any other questions? Final adoption?
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Biddlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes. All right, moving on to what you gentlemen were waiting for. Finally, we're only halfway through, but we got to you. Luckily, you're not at the end. Resolution number 7-2025.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Mr. Biddlecombe.
I make a motion to waive the 3 reading rule and to place resolution number 7-2025 on its first reading.
Thank you. Questions on the 3 reading? Roll call.
Biddlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Taft?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
How can you tell?
Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is resolution number 7-2025. A resolution authorizing the city manager's execution of an agreement on behalf of the city of Huron, Ohio, with the International Association of Firefighters, Huron Local 4168, Huron, Ohio, for the contract period January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2027.
Mr. Lasko.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I do want to acknowledge and thank Mr. Smith and Mr. Hillman for being here this evening. I also want to acknowledge Mr. Ruggles, who is not here this evening. Those were the 3 folks from IAFF local that were representing their membership. Thank you, guys. We got through it again. But they were wonderful. They were professional. So again, I appreciate their collaboration throughout this process. I did just want to hit a few of the highlights, several of which are identical to what was presented with the patrol and sergeant agreements and the AFSCME agreement. This is a 3-year contract, 2025 through 2027, but as is the case in the other contracts, there is going to be an automatic reopener in 2026 and 2027 specific to wages and healthcare. There is a proposed wage increase, which averages $1.75 to the base, which again is similar to the other bargaining units. We also have a very similar change to the longevity calculation, in which we're moving to steps versus which is a percentage of salary versus a static amount, which was in the prior contracts. We did increase the uniform allowance from $600 to $750. The employee contribution to the healthcare premium is going from 5% to 6%, which is identical to the other bargaining units. Also, we'll be changing from an HRA account to a HSA, which is a health savings account, again identical to the other bargaining units. The big change, which is different and specific to IAFF, is if everyone remembers, in 2024, we were made aware of certain requirements under the Fair Labor Standards Act, which ensures that our firefighter membership is only working a specific amount of hours over a certain cycle. And due to the nature of the cycles, given their schedules, we're always going over those thresholds, which triggers overtime. So we went through about 6 months of that. So to mitigate that in the new contract, instead of going by what we've done over the last 6 months, we are introducing what's known as Kelly Days, which is what exists in a lot of other communities. What this basically does is over a certain cycle, the membership will get an additional day off so that it drops those hours worked so that we are in compliance with the Fair Labor Standards Act. So what does that mean in totality? And I'll try to summarize it. It's an extra 95 shifts throughout the calendar year that our existing membership will take off, additional days off, so that they're below the FLSA threshold. So 10 of our membership, 10 members will get an extra 6 days off. 5 members will get an extra 7 days off throughout the course of the calendar year. To ensure or try to mitigate that we're not filling these shifts with existing employees, full-time employees, we have required and they've agreed to pick their Kelly days over a year in advance, which gives us the ability to mitigate again overtime, and then we're filling these shifts with part-time firefighters. Again, probably won't happen in every case, but given that we have so much time in advance to pick these shifts, it really allows us to mitigate that overtime cost. And as a safeguard, very much like we did with the police contracts when they moved to 12-hour shifts, and we had the right to pull those 12-hour shifts and we thought it was triggering too much overtime, this allows the city annually to go away from Kelly days and just go back to traditional FSLA calculations if we think the economic impact is hurting the city too greatly. So it's something we're going to monitor this year to see if it's something we want to continue on an annual basis. So again, appreciate their partnership throughout the process. Happy to answer any questions.
That was
Mr. Artino.
that was my question. How's it going to impact the difference between overtime? We don't know yet.
Through you, Mr. Vice Mayor, it's really going to be contingent on how these shifts get filled, which is unknown. Again, I won't sit here and guarantee every shift's going to be filled by part-time. We may think we have a shift filled and then the part-timer gets sick the day of the shift.
Yeah.
So the key is, are we staying within budget and something that the city can afford and budgeted for? We won't know, but we have the ability to monitor annually, which is critical.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? I just want to thank everybody, the crew from the fire department, and, Mr. Lasko and staff that were all involved in this process, and gets drawn out, and then you guys go back and forth in a lot of details, but everybody, from my understanding, was very professional and respectful, and we're glad to see it finalized for all of our benefits to move on and get going with 2025. So no more questions. We're ready for final adoption.
Middlecom?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Tap? I'm sorry.
No.
Say it again. Dyke?
Yes.
Graves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
So moving on to resolution number 8-2025.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Mr. Greaves. Sorry.
I make a motion waiving the third reading rule, placing resolution number 8-2025 on its first reading.
Questions on the 3 reading? Roll call.
Greaves,
Yes.
Heggie.
Yes.
Fiddlecombe.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Claus.
Yes.
Dyke.
Yes.
Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is resolution number 8-2025. A resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the Erie Soil and Water Conservation District for development of a stormwater management plan and the NPDES small MS4 permit application to the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency in the amount of $15,800 for the 2025 calendar year, which agreement includes 4 optional one-year renewals under identical terms other than cost as follows. Calendar year 2026 in the amount of $16,300. Calendar year 2027 in the amount of $16,300. Calendar year 2028 in the amount of $16,800, and calendar year 2029 in the amount of $16,800.
Thank you. Mr. Hamilton.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is our yearly memorandum agreement and contract with Erie Soil and Water. What they do is they run our compliance with the state of Ohio for stormwater and compliance and storm runoff and pollutant discharge. It's a complex set of hoops you've got to jump through with the state to stay in compliance with this. They actually do this for a lot of local municipalities. We've done it with them for the last 4 years. This is just bringing on a new agreement, run over 5 years with 1 year with automatic renewals. We can drop out whenever we want to. Again, the annual cost for this year is the same as it was last year, and then next year it'll go up by $500, and then again in 28 it'll go up another $500. What we typically seen in the past is we'll have 4-year agreement and then we'll get a big jump in the cost. And what they're trying to do is spread that increase over the 5-year term of the agreement. They do a good job with us and we're thankful for the partnership. It would be a lot of work to take on in-house, and they already have the staff who are qualified to do this for us. So.
Thank you. Any questions? Final adoption.
Greaves,
Yes.
Heggie.
Yes.
Fiddlecombe.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Claus.
Yes.
Dyke.
Yes.
Okay, resolution number 9-2025.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Mr. Greaves.
I make a resolution waiving the 3 reading rule, or make a motion waiving the 3 reading rule, placing resolution number 9-2025 on its first reading.
Any questions on 3 reading? Roll call?
Greaves,
Yes.
Heggie.
Yes.
Fiddlecombe.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Claus.
Yes.
Dyke.
Yes.
Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is resolution number 9-2025, a resolution authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into an agreement confirming the joint acquisition, operation, and/or maintenance of recreational facilities, and an agreement for the operation and maintenance of such facilities and programs established by the Huron Joint Recreation Program.
Thank you. Mr. Steinwert, you've been waiting so patiently.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Yeah, this resolution authorizes our annual agreement with the City of Huron and Huron Township related to the Huron Joint Rec District. Under this proposed agreement, the 2025 contribution rates are established, representing the percentages distribution authorized by council of previous agreements. This year, 2025, the City of Huron will be at $342,046. That is a 3.65% increase. And the township is $123,367. It is the same as 2023 and 2024. In 2023, they approved a resolution to cap for 3 years, so this will be the 3rd year of that motion they passed. The township trustees will consider approving this agreement, obviously after if council approves
So the, since they capped it for 3 years, so in 2026, then they would potentially
We'd like to, have those discussions with them.
have discussions with them about raising their cap or
Raising
just
the cap.
covering, using a percentage like we did in the past.
Correct.
So we'll open discussions with the township on that before we would obviously have the same vote of that year.
Yeah, for
This time next year.
2026.
Yeah. Any other questions? Mr. Dyke?
Are the schools in this?
So the schools are, this is their third year, they're not financially contributing to the joint rec
But they're still
district.
part of it, correct?
They're still a part of it, shared, shared facilities, share those types of, but zero on the financials.
And then also the township, they've approved this, right?
This will be brought to them after this, they want to see this approved. And then
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I'm not gonna say anything.
And I think just for clarification on the school district thing, at the state level, when you have a joint rec district, by definition, the schools are required to be able to have seats on the board of that district. Correct me if I'm wrong, Doug. But there's not a requirement in that state code that requires them to participate financially. Is that accurate?
Yeah, Mr. Vice Mayor, per ORC, any joint rec district structured in the way ours is legally, they are required to be a member, therefore have board representation. There is no financial requirement. If this were a more just traditional, Parks and Rec board that most cities have, that is not a joint rec district, there's flexibility on membership. But as long as a joint rec district exists in its legal form, they will have participation and membership on the board.
Thank you. Any other questions? Final adoption?
Greaves,
Yes.
Hagee.
Yes.
Middlecom.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Claus.
Yes.
Dyke.
Yes.
Moving on, resolution number 10-2025. Oh, that's me. I make a motion to, waive the 3 reading rules and place resolution number 10-2025 on its first reading. Any questions on the 3 reading? Roll call?
Claus.
Yes.
Dyke.
Yes.
Greaves.
Yes.
Hagee.
Yes.
Middlecom.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Mr. Schrader?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is resolution number 10-2025. A resolution authorizing and directing Charles E. Harris and Associates to commence the gap conversion for the city of Huron, Ohio at a total cost of $54,750 for the fiscal year period January 1, 2024 through December 31, 2026.
Mr. Lasko?
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor, the city's had a long-standing relationship with Charles E. Harris, who handles the city's gap conversion annually. I did want to reiterate Mr. Schrader's point, the $54,750 is a total for 3 years, not a one-year cost. So that would be for those who are gap conversions. Gap is generally accepted accounting principles for those listening. This would cover fiscal years 2024, 2025, and 2026, so it always runs a half year behind. This is a modest increase from last year. I think we were right around 16,000 for the cost, so they've built in some increases, which is typical on an annual basis. But we've had a great relationship with them. We trust them implicitly, so we're happy to keep our partnership with this firm moving forward.
Any questions? Final adoption?
Claus.
Yes.
Dyke.
Yes.
Greaves.
Yes.
Hagee.
Yes.
Middlecom.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Moving on, resolution number 11-2025.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Mr. Artino.
I move to waive the 3 reading rule and place resolution number 11-2025 on its first reading.
Any questions on the 3 reading? Roll call.
Martino.
Yes.
Claus.
Yes.
Dyke.
Yes.
Greaves.
Yes.
Hagee.
Yes.
Middlecom.
Yes.
Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is resolution number 11-2025. A resolution authorizing and directing the city manager on behalf of the Huron Police Department to enter into a 3-year agreement with Statewide Emergency Products LLC, DBA statewide municipal leasing for the lease purchase of 2 police cruisers in an amount not to exceed $140,316.
Chief Graham.
Good evening, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council. Again, this is a resolution, is an authorization for an agreement, lease agreement with statewide emergency products to purchase 2 police cars, specifically 2 2025 Ford Explorer SUVs. We use statewide is our distributor. They both can get the vehicle and they do our install. We looked at the 2 different products out there with SUVs between Tahoes and Explorers. This year, the Explorers come in cheaper, and so we're going to take that avenue. We also explored whether to purchase these outright or whether to lease. And to lease these for 3 years, and then we get to purchase it for $1 is more economical for the city to take that route. This is going to replace 2 Dodge Chargers, a 2015 and a 2016, with extremely high miles. One of the Chargers is going to be transferred to our service departments for use, and the other one, I haven't approached them yet, but I'm anticipating donating it to Hovey like we did previously, so their auto department can go through it, and then it will eventually make it to their public safety department, train future police officers. I'll be more than happy to entertain any questions.
Yeah, this may be a question for you, Matt. Under the financial review, it says this has been budgeted in 25, 26, 27. Does that mean we're doing 2 in 25, 2 more in 26, and 2 more in 27?
Through you, Mr. Vice Mayor, Councilman Hagee, that's specific to the lease payments. So the lease payments of roughly $44,000 a year for these 2 vehicles have been budgeted. I think everything's on the table as it relates to new vehicle purchases come 2026. This is specific to the lease payments in those 3 years for these 2 cars.
So just a quick follow-on, then were these 2 vehicles in the budget for 2025 in the capital budget?
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Final adoption. Thank you, Chief.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Mr. Greaves.
I make a motion waiving the 3 reading rule, placing resolution number 12-2025 on its first reading.
Any questions on 3 reading? Roll call.
Reeves?
Yes.
Hagee?
Yes.
Middlecom?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is resolution number 12-2025. A resolution of the City of Huron, Ohio, supporting the Ohio Municipal League's challenge of AT&T's tariff application at the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio.
Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'll speak to this. Within the recent past, within the week, last week or so, the Ohio Municipal League and the Ohio Municipal Attorneys Association circulated an email whereby advising that AT&T has proposed a tariff at the PUCO that effectively makes it if any of AT&T's poles or infrastructure are required to be relocated, that the cost of that relocation is to be borne by the municipality. And so AT&T has responded, and there's kind of a debate going on between the attorneys and between the Ohio Municipal League as to when it would apply. But the concern is if AT&T is allowed to, if this tariff is granted, it would only be a matter of time before any other utility, First Energy, Columbia Gas, and when does it apply? If we're doing road construction, if we have a beautification, if we have to get to the right of way, when does this charge apply and when doesn't it? And it doesn't appear that there's a clear answer to that now. So the Ohio Municipal League has hired the Taft Law Firm of Columbus, Ohio, and right now they are asking municipalities to pass legislation in opposition to this tariff. It commits the city to nothing right now. Depending on how far this goes and how significant the challenge becomes, there may be an instance in the future where the Municipal League or Ohio Municipal Attorneys Association asks for contributions from the municipalities. It really depends how far it goes, how many are involved. But it's really kind of remains to be seen. But we're not bound to anything right now other than being included in a list of municipalities that are opposing this tariff out of concern that it's overbroad and where it may end up. And if it passes, that other utilities will do the same thing. It could be a very costly exercise. I don't know the cost involved in relocating utilities. Matt and Stu probably do, but it's not cheap.
No, I'll just share, and I may get the dollar amount wrong, but I was talking to Mr. Hamilton about this as part of our recent road work, specifically that we did with the South Main Street Water Main project and roadway improvements. There were a couple of gas lines that we needed Columbia Gas to move that were in the right of way. My understanding is that would have been tens upon tens of thousands of dollars in city liability, even though they were existing in our right of way. So we're trying to stop, again, I know this isn't specific to Columbia Gas, and I'm not picking on Columbia Gas, but to Mr. Schrader's point, if AT&T asks for this and is granted it, they're probably the least of our concerns. It's the other individual companies that we are involved with significantly more, and it would cost more, particularly because they're underground versus above ground. So I don't know if there's more to add, but I know on this specific project, Columbia Gas had to absorb tens of thousands of dollars because they were in the way in our right of way.
I have a quick question. Are they allowed to be in the right way?
Through Mr. Vice Mayor. Yes, but we needed them to move as related to our construction work. But yes, all utilities that are there should, via easement rights, be permitted to be there, but there are times where they are in our way.
Can I add?
Please.
Also, my understanding is AT&T is taking the position that this only applies when above-ground utilities are asked to be placed in an underground, similar to what happened in Cleveland with Gordon Square, et cetera. But the tariff language is not clear and doesn't explicitly address other situations, and there's the concern about some creep in interpretation that the Ohio Municipal League wants to nail this down a little tighter. They prefer it not go forward at all. So we're monitoring it. Passing this tonight, again, doesn't bind the city to anything. There may be in the future a request for funds, but that's down the road, and the city can make a determination whether they want to continue to participate or financially support at that time.
Okay, any more questions? Final adoption.
Graves,
Yes.
Hagee.
Yes.
Middlecom.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Claus.
Yes.
Dyke.
Yes.
Moving on, we only have like 10 more to go. Resolution number 13-2025.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hay.
I move that the three reading rule is waived and resolution 13-2025 be submitted on its first reading.
Questions on the three reading? Roll call?
Hagee.
Yes.
Middlecom.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Claus.
Yes.
Dyke.
Yes.
Graves.
Yes.
Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is resolution number 13-2025, a resolution authorizing the city manager to accept the proposal and enter into an agreement with Bisnus, Inc. for the purchase of replacement Watson Marlowe ODOS 30 pumps for caustic soda, ACH, fluoride, and phosphate, installation of new interconnection SCADA wiring from the pumps to existing SCADA junction boxes, and related freight charges at the Huron water filtration plant in the amount of $42,624.
That was pretty detailed.
Say that 3 times, right?
Mr. Hamilton, can you please repeat that?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Let me simplify that. This is the water plant getting caught up on our capital equipment replacement plan. We're still playing catch up over years of not spending as much money as we could have done. These pumps were installed right around 2010, which puts them about 5 to 6 years past their useful life. These pumps feed 5 separate chemical systems, which are all, each one is critical to producing water. This actually does 10 pumps in total, because each chemical has 2 pumps for redundancy purposes. So we can always ensure we're making water. We already replaced 1 set of pumps emergency-wise this year because they failed, and we cannot get parts for these pumps anymore. So that's why we're buying the bullet, and we budgeted to have these pumps replaced this year. All of these pumps will now be the same make model, which creates efficiencies, which means we don't have to keep half as many spare parts on the shelf. And again, this contains the integration into our control system, so they'll all be fully controlled.
Thank you. Any questions? Final adoption.
Hagee?
Yes.
Middlecom?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke? Reeves?
Yes.
Moving on, amended resolution number 56-2021.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hagee.
I move that the 3 reading rule is waived and amended resolution number 56-2021 be placed on its first reading.
Mr. Schrader.
Do we have a vote on the?
Oh, I'm sorry. We need to vote on the 3 reading. Roll
Hagee?
call.
Yes.
Middlecom?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is amended resolution number 56-2021. An amended resolution ratifying the city manager's execution of the First Amendment to the Water and Wastewater Infrastructure Program Grant Agreement, control number DEV-2021-181177, dated January 1, 2023, between the Ohio Department of Development and the City of Huron, authorized by resolution number 56-2021, adopted on August 24, 2021 as follows. A resolution authorizing the city manager to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Department of Development Water and Wastewater Infrastructure Grant Program in the amount of $5 million relating to the Huron Elevated Water Storage Tank Project, authorizing the city manager to accept said grant award in an amount not to exceed $5 million should the application be successful, and authorizing the city manager to execute agreements and documents as required.
Mr. Hamilton.
Thank you again, Mr. Vice Mayor. The original legislation on this allowed us to apply for the grant, but it was before the days where we did apply and accept. So the amendment for this one lets us actually accept the $5 million because we wouldn't give it away. And the second part of this is we didn't get this grant the first time around. They reissued the grant monies and we got it the second time around, which gave us a really short window to actually commit those funds. So most people who received this grant got an extension to the middle of this year to actually commit these funds. We don't have to spend them. So the second part of this amendment is to extend this to the agreement to June 30th of 2025.
Any questions? Okay, final adoption.
Hagee?
Yes.
Middlecom?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Okay, final resolution, amended resolution number 90-2024.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Mr. Greaves.
make a motion waiving the 3 reading rule, placing amended resolution number 90-2024 on its first reading.
Questions on the 3 reading? Roll call.
Reeves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Middlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Mr. Schrader.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is amended resolution number 90-2024. An amended resolution authorizing submission of a grant application to the Ohio Department of Transportation Pedestrian and Bicycle Special Solicitation Grant Opportunity for funding assistance relating to the Lake Erie Parkway Multi-Use Path Project, which will connect the Lake Erie Electric Path to the Rye Beach Road Path to be constructed as part of the US 6 Connectivity Corridor Project in an amount not to exceed $533,000, and further authorizing the city manager to accept said grant award in an amount not to exceed $533,000 should the application be successful.
Mr. Hamilton.
Thank you for the last time tonight, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is another amendment. When we submitted, or when we went to submit this grant request, Larry, our grant ferret, figured out that we could actually claim back some of our design costs as well as construction. Originally it was thought this was construction only. So but the amendment has taken us from 400,000 to 533,000 for the grant request. Good work, Larry.
Thank you. That's Larry for any of you that.
It's Italian, isn't it?
Any questions? Final adoption.
Reeves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Middlecombe?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Okay, now for the highlight of the evening. It's the very brief city manager's discussion.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I will do my best. I'm the last person anyone wants to hear speak for the rest of the night, so I will be brief. Did want to offer some good news to start as relates specific to one of our recently set to be closed out streets projects, specifically our 2023 resurfacing, which is Chaska and Old Homestead 1 and 2. After receiving our final pay request from the contractor, we anticipate we will be $530,000 below budget, which is great. I do want to remind council and the public, however, that we did issue bonds for this project, which we pulled down in late spring, early summer. So we are sitting on the full $2.2 million for that project, of which we don't need $530,000 of it. We've since had conversations with our bond counsel and our financial advisors, bond counsel being Squire and financial advisors being Cicina and Associates. And we really have two uses for those excess funds. The first is those can be used really on almost any roadway project that the city may desire to undertake moving forward, whether that's for a simple street resurfacing or for a larger scale construction project. Secondarily, if we determine we financially cannot undertake future projects for whatever reason, or we don't have a need, we can actually move those funds to the bond retirement account, and we could use that $530,000 to pay down the bonds that were issued. So staff by no means has a recommendation at the moment. I just think we wanted to let council know of where that project looks like it's closing out and where those potential funds can be used for. So there'll be more discussion on that with council moving forward. Reminder, there is as it relates to the South Main Street Streetscape Design Project, there will be a stakeholder meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, January 15th at 10 a.m. in the council chambers. This meeting is to meet with property owners and business owners to go over the conceptual plan and garner feedback as it relates to the conceptual design. Certainly, we've let folks know if they cannot make that meeting, we will be able to meet with them offline specific to how the project may benefit or impact their operations. So we're happy to do that in addition to tomorrow's meeting. I did want to remind council as related to an email I sent a couple weeks ago. At our next meeting on January 28th, we are hoping to have a discussion to seek final council direction on a formal and permanent name for the recently acquired green space on Berlin Road. Once decided by council, we would then move forward with purchasing the new signage for the park, which has already been budgeted for 2025. I did want to note and thank Huron Township. The proposed location for the signs actually in the Huron Township portion of the property. Mr. Steinwart worked with them to get a variance to allow for the signage to be installed based on the size and location of it. So thank you to Doug and thank you to Huron Township. But I do hope to have that discussion briefly at our next council meeting. A few updates from the streets department. We did complete the installation of the new street sign configuration at Woodlands. HPD has been at the school all week and will continue to be so for a couple days, instructing drivers of the new traffic patterns. Thank you to all of our partners who collaborated on that project. And want to thank and continue to thank moving forward everyone that's been out there on the plows, whether that's Parks and Recreation, streets, water distribution. They have been very, very busy over the last couple days and may continue to be busy moving forward. So they've done a tremendous job trying to keep ahead of this weather, which seems to be on a daily basis at this point. So thank you to everyone, truly. One quick personnel update. I did want to recognize Sergeant Nate Orzek, who completed 25 years of service with the Huron Police Department, and that was on December 12th, 2024. Also, I did want to note under the projects out for bid, that Huron Public Power Substation Switchgear Procurement. A request for bids was posted on December 4th of 2024. Bids were open January 6th of this year with a single bidder. That total bid amount was $710,780. That bid is currently being reviewed for correctness by staff and our electrical consultant. Then finally, upcoming meetings to close out the month. There's a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting Monday, January 13th at 5:30. Was that yesterday?
Yeah.
All right, never mind. Scratch that. That happened already. City Council work session Tuesday, January 28th at 5:30 in the council chambers. City Council public hearing on the proposed Turtle Bay PUD amendment, which will happen Tuesday, January 28th, 6:30 in the council chambers. And then our second City Council meeting to close out the month, also Tuesday, January 28th at 6:30 p.m. in the council chambers. Reminder to the public that city administrative offices will be closed Monday, January 20th in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. That concludes my remarks. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Biddlecombe.
So last night at the school board meeting, they had also mentioned signage. I just was curious how it seems to be going with the parents. Are they adapting well? And
Yeah, I'll defer to Chief Graham. I know he's been monitoring this with his officers as well. So, Chief Graham.
Thank you, Councilman Biddlecombe. The signs were completed on Friday. Monday, we had obviously a presence in the area. We did have a few violations, and we used all those contacts as an educational opportunity to kind of reprogram the drivers with the new pattern. I made contact with Dr. Tappan, and we sent an email out to all the parents, advising them of the new traffic pattern. We were there again today and had 0 violations. So we will be there the rest of the week, and we will, in the following weeks, we'll continue to monitor it, but it seems to be going very well.
good. Yeah, I noticed they also posted on social media too, notifying everyone. I think that was today. So.
We received no calls, and we had no violations today.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chief. Did you have more officers than just Keith or Officer Lobson? Did you have multiple officers there covering that? Or,
We had
just to help.
all the officers that were on squad at various locations, just monitoring not only the no parking areas, but also the new no turn on red at the stop sign. So all is well today.
Good, thank you.
One more thing. I've had a couple residents ask me if if there's any updates on Long John Silver's.
Through Mr. Vice Mayor, Councilman Bill, I know something came across my desk recently, I can't remember, Mr. Hamilton, if you can give a quick update. I saw some recent movement though.
Through you, Mr. Vice Mayor. They're all passed through and all their permits at this point. All their contractors, subcontractors are registered. So we're just waiting for them to oops out and actually start doing the doing at this point, so.
They're gonna demolish that first and then build new, right?
Correct. That's the understanding just now. I believe Edward Boone is going to be the demolition contractor.
Okay.
They're not gonna make Lent this year.
Maybe in a fish pie.
Yeah.
No, my question's not about Long John Silver. You can sit down. No, I have a comment. I ran into Bob Irons the other day, and he wanted me to, he was excited and real happy to work with Mr. Steinwartz and yourself, Matt, and he said that he was just thrilled at how the pickleball courts turned out. So he asked me to pass that on. Good job.
Thank you. Did he challenge you too?
It was at the gym.
Mr. Hagee.
He's a brave man out there playing pickleball these days. I just had a quick question on the overrun. I'm really happy to hear that on the street project. That's almost a 25% overrun. So facetiously, I'm wondering, should we be worried about the streets they put in? But in all honesty, does anyone understand how we
That's a good point.
had a 25% underrun?
I'll do my best, but then I'm going to defer to Mr. Hamilton, but through you, Mr. Vice Mayor, to Councilman Hagee. The only thing I do want to remind council and the public is specifically in all of these reconstruction projects where we don't know what's below ground, there's normally a pretty significant contingency that's built into that 2.2 million. And then two, we're pretty conservative on what needs to be replaced underground as well in terms of base. Some of that analysis we did, but we took just samples. So I think a lot of the cost savings was contingency and a lot less base reconstruction, but Mr. Hamilton.
That's pretty much it.
No, and I would say too, I mean, the other thing to keep in mind, which is even more amazing, is I think our second lowest bidder was 2.7 million. So we saw a lot of price differentiation, not only in the bids, but I think we were really happy with, and I do want to thank, truly, it is a testament to Mr. Hamilton, Mr. Friedrich, OHM inspectors who were truly out there every day. And I really do think we had an honest contractor who we had never worked with to my knowledge, but we're really happy with not just their work product, but their communication with the neighbors. So there were a lot of eyes and boots on the ground, but I think we lucked out a lot with what we found under the existing surface compared to what we saw when we did our borings, and not having to touch a lot of that contingency.
Then just a quick follow-up, is that $500K a clawback that we've already paid them, or we just don't have to pay them that?
Through Mr. Vice Mayor and Councilman Hagee. No, so what we did is, when we issued the bonds, I'm going to round, we brought in $2.2 million from our bond issuance, sat it in the account, and paid the contract out as necessary. So that is nothing we have to claw back. Those are funds that the city is sitting on. We did ask, we wondered could we invest them in the interim. We're not allowed because they're tax exempt bonds. We also wondered, hey, could we use those funds to pay down old bonds? And maybe, like for example, the city issued bonds in 2018. I think it was for resurfacing in either here, Wexford or somewhere else. Could we pay down those bonds and cut down the maturity date by 2 or 3 years? The answer is no. So again, a good problem to have still. We can use them on future road projects or pay down this debt. But yes, that's money we're sitting on that we don't have to claw back.
Anything else from Mr. Lasco? Okay, moving on to mayor's discussion. I'll keep this brief. I wasn't prepared to write a couple pages since I just found out the mayor was feeling ill tonight, so I stepped in. I just want to, thank staff, all the bargaining units, everything that happened, at the end of the year, tail end of the year. It was a really busy fall for everybody in all our departments. staff and otherwise. Also want to thank all the streets department folks and Parks and Rec, and I saw fire department guys out here shoveling before the meeting. Keeping up with our with our roads, sidewalks, streets, parking lots, et cetera, keeping us safe. I think we're gonna be, or we are already tapping into a little more salt than we have the last couple of years if this continues. But that's good, because I think we have it budgeted and we're good to go. That's really all I have. I think we have plenty of other words going on today for the good of the order. Mr. Hagee.
No, sir, I have nothing for the good of the order.
Mr. Greaves.
Just congrats to Sergeant Orzak, 25 years.
Mr. Dyke.
Congratulations, Sergeant Orzak.
Mr. Artino.
I'll echo that, and thanks to all the city employees and all the bargaining units. I'm sure it's kind of mutual. I think the feeling I have is that we're one big team. So thank you to the bargaining units. Thanks to all the employees for all their hard work throughout the year, and especially in this kind of weather. Thank you.
Mr. Biddlecombe.
I apologize in advance, but thank you, staff, for all your hard work, especially everyone who's been out plowing and fixing the water mains. Congratulations to Sergeant Orzak. I'd like to thank the Parks and Rec for getting that ice rink up and open. There will be a community forum where you can learn more about how your real estate taxes get calculated, why they might be going up, and how you can work with the county treasurer's office to lower them. That'll be Wednesday, January 29th, from 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the Huron Public Library. They have a couple other ones on different dates, other areas of the county as well. The Schools Facilities Committee met on Sunday. We discussed a new option that they've proposed, where you would refurbish Woodlands and the high school, and adding on an addition to the high school to replace McCormick, or an addition to Woodlands, or a combination of both. They're currently looking at pricing for that option and then compare it to the other options. School board met last night. Takeaways from that: they had their organizational meeting as well. So during the organizational meeting and their tax budget hearing, they elected Jody Mast again as board president. Stacy Hartley will be vice president again. Stacy Henners will continue to be the OSBA legislative rep, and Beth LaFay will continue to be the rep for the Joint Rec District. The only change really will be Stacy Henners is now going to be the rep to the boosters instead of Jody Mast. They did approve their fiscal year 2026 budget. As part of the regular meeting, they did announce that there were new curtains installed at the auditorium at McCormick, and this year's High School Musical will be High School Musical. And then there was another lengthy discussion on weighted versus unweighted GPAs and the impacts that that's had on the ability to qualify for certain scholarships. I'd like to congratulate the SBC Dive Gold Medal champions Hayden Holmes and Adeline Hoffman. Congratulations to the boys swim team. They won SBC this year for the first time ever in the program's history. And the girls this year took third place, so congratulations to them. And everyone check your water bills or stop by and see Doug at the boat basin, because the new pamphlets are out this year with everything going on at the boat basin this year. Some home games coming up. Girls basketball January 18th, 21st, and 24th. Boys basketball January 17th, 21st, 27th. Wrestling on the 22nd of January. And bowling on January 20th and 28th. Please come out and support our student athletes and local events, and go Tigers.
Thank you. So we'll move on. We do have an executive session this evening. I make a motion to enter into executive session to consider purchase of property for public purposes, sale of a property at competitive bidding, or sale and or disposition of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property. I invite Mr. Lasko, Mr. Schrader, and Mr. Hamilton. There will be no action after executive session.
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Greaves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
Bilko?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Thank you. Back in session, and for the council meeting, and we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Mr. Middlecombe,
I move that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
all, we can't do all in favor, roll call, please.
Billco?
Yes.
Martino?
Yes.
Claus?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Peggy?
Yes.
We're adjourned.
Tap.
Tap.